Hey guys, welcome back to Prepping in Progress. I'm Steve,
And I'm Kim.
and today we're going to talk a little bit about current events and all the tweets and whatnots on WW3 and World War III and Iran and what we can do to maintain our sanity.
And also, what do we do as preppers? How do we, look at when current events kind of go a little crazy as preppers?
So stay with us. So by now, unless you've been living under a rock,
I kind of have.
some guys did some things with some drones. All right.
A little bit
Apparently,
more complicated than that, I think.
basically, we took out Iran's number three, and
Number 3?
in
Oh, I know
in their
what I-
government, he was their number three.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
Trump's creating jobs?
Yes, there's a job opening right now in Iran. In the
Okay,
Iranian
we don't
government.
mean to make light of it because it is a serious topic, but I do want to break some of the tension because it does seem like tensions and insecurities and everything are getting kind of out there. To say, I hate it then anytime any kind of conflict comes up, the first thing that gets Googled is World War III. So in that sense, it feels kind of fear-mongering, not from any particular person or group, but just a murmuring in the crowd, if that makes sense, of kind of fear-mongering amongst ourselves and what if. And
Well, and then you got the pranksters who are sending out texts. Congratulations, you've been drafted.
yeah, I have to say they just had a report on that where people are getting fake text messages that they're being drafted. And that's what I'm saying. It can lead people to high anxiety. And real quick, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I want to bring that up. This is what happens that even the slightest threat of something breaking up the balance of what we're used to. We as preppers, we think about these contingencies all the time. I don't know a single prepper that hasn't thought about what if an EMP, what if another civil war, what if another world war, what about an economic collapse? And they go through all of these what ifs in order to be prepared. So you're not one of those people who are getting caught up in the fear of what if. Because those people that are fear mongering are the ones that are truly scared something's going to happen because they haven't thought about it and they haven't prepared for it.
And we take a totally, I won't say totally unique, but a unique way at looking at things. I picked one big one that I kind of feel encapsulates many different events.
Yeah.
And there are flaws to my way of thought process.
Mm-hmm.
But you turn around and you pick individual small ones.
Yeah.
And you offset my.
But that's the thing. As preppers, we tend to not be part of not all of us, because I don't want to, in general, we're not part of the crowds that are going, oh my God, what if? All of a sudden, and then it's a shakeup in their mental capacities. It's a shakeup of their worldviews because they've been living in kind of under a rock. They've been not in Iraq, under a rock, but of where you have this kind of set things that you're used to. You're used to your electricity coming on when you want to. You're used to being able to get in your car and drive wherever you would like to. Having a job, things like that. And so when anything comes in to threaten that worldview, it could really shake people up. And that's why a lot of people, as you know, talking to people about preparedness, they don't want to hear about it. I know a lot of people that really shut down because it brings up way too much anxiety for them to think about how unprepared they are for any kind of event, whether it is a tornado or World War III, any kind of event that breaks up their day-to-day lives is seen as this major catastrophe that they don't want to consider and they don't want to to even talk about or bring up. And that's why I'm saying things like what's going on in Iran. It can quickly escalate to people, World War III, because that fear has been built in. They've been suppressing and suppressing for so long something has come along to kind of break up their daily routines, and now they're going to have to face that something very well could happen that will make life very difficult. And I think that's where it comes from with a lot of the fear mongering. But I don't know, those are my thoughts. And our kids are home and we're recording, so I have to tell them to shut up.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We are busy parents. And so, but when looking at it as preppers, I don't think we've kind of fall into that same category because these are contingencies that we have considered for a long time. At least when you've been a prepper for as long as we have. And a lot of the people out there have been preppers for a long time as well. And so a lot of times you can spot those fear-mongering tactics, but really watch how people react to those tactics. And that can kind of gives me more insights of what would happen if something were to actually happen. You know, say war did break out, say a draft did happen, that could really disrupt people's lives, and as well it would. I mean, you look back in the last World War we had, it completely changed society. But as preppers, we consider these things long before they happen. And so when they do approach and we do see kind of things on the horizon, I'm not saying be blind to them, because we should be aware, be alert that things are happening in the world. But since we have already considered the outcome, we had already started to become prepared, it's not going to hit us as hard as the people that are just now realizing things are not as stable in this world as they'd like to believe.
Yeah. You know, and I'm not trying to be blasé, okay? But let's take a look at what could happen. Should troops be deployed? Should this escalate? What happened the last time we went into the Middle East? Gas prices went up. Okay. Hopefully you've got some fuel set aside, but you need to start budgeting for an increase, maybe $3 a gallon.
Yeah.
You also have to think about certain retailers may go into price gouging and up the prices on
Or
foods.
trade embargoes could happen where it's harder to get certain foods or certain items.
Yeah. So, yes, things could happen. Yes, that things could get a little tougher than what we're used to, but it's not as tough as, I won't say it's not as tough, but I will say that I have lived through Desert Storm 1, Desert Shield, Afghanistan.
You didn't go there.
Well,
or
no.
you were
What
around for them.
I'm saying is, you know, I was very young the first time we went into Kuwait and whatnot. But I've seen throughout the course of my life, I've seen gas go to almost $4 a gallon. I've seen it almost hit $1.25 once at one station. I've seen the trends. We're still here. We're still functioning. I'm not saying things aren't tough. I'm not saying that our economy is not paper. But I am saying that it's not the end of the world as we know it yet.
I do want y'all to be aware, though, to say when it comes to places like Iran, they do tend to not be as straightforward as, say, going to war with another nation. They tend to, and I was just watching in a news article, not really an article, sorry, broadcast, that they tend to lean towards surrogate wars. Most of us know that a lot of the stuff that happened in 9/11, stuff like that, were fueled by places like Saudi Arabia, funding them to do things like that. And I don't see Iran going for a face-off, but I do see them having surrogates, as they do right now in Iraq and Afghanistan. They a lot of times will funnel money to different groups in order to attack the United States, because they know they could not win in an all-out the United States versus Iran,
Yeah.
it couldn't, I mean, they wouldn't stand a chance. And so they're going to play the peacekeeper while funneling money to possible terrorist organizations. So I do want you to be aware that if the threat levels do go up, go ahead and raise your internal threat levels for that one. Don't go into fear mongering, but be aware that these are tactics that they have deployed in other places. And terrorist attacks may or may not happen, but be aware of any kind of targets that may be in your area that you want to avoid. You know, at least till things calm down. If you were worried about, you know, if you're living next to a large target, I'm just going to call it that, because I don't know. I don't want to give any ideas out there for possible stuff. So
Well,
you know
also-
when you're, no, I don't want to, because I don't want to give, if something were to happen
Well, it's
in a place like that.
Okay.
But if you are living in one of those busier places, that could be a potential target. Avoid that, or just keep your head up. If you see something, say something type things. But definitely keep your internal awareness a little bit higher. Don't go into panic. Don't go into, holy crap, it's starting. Just keep your internal alert. Even if the external alerts are like, oh no, everything's fine. We're in peace and terms and things like that. They have been known to have surrogate war. And that is funding these cells that they've got placed. You know, even if they're not even Iranian. But they will do that in order to attack the United States, to cripple us financially so we aren't able to go to war. And so I do want y'all to be aware and prepared.
And educated.
That's what our old sensei used to say. Be aware, prepared, and educated. And just be aware of your surroundings. Be prepared for anything that might happen. But keep apprised of any kind of news that's coming out. So aware, prepared, and educated. It's probably the best advice a sensei has ever given me.
And
So,
don't panic.
yeah. But just awareness and preparedness is probably the best tools that you have in your arsenal, because as preppers, this is something we had probably already considered years ago. And if you haven't, if you're a new prepper and this is the first time, you may feel your anxiety rising. Where is your anxiety coming from? Is it because you are lacking on a certain prep that you would like to get more of? Or is it just that something could potentially happen before you're at the preparedness level that you want to be? Analyze that and step back and say, okay, if something were to happen, where are my weakest points and what do I need to fill in the gaps at? If it's fuel, if it's food, or if it's medical, or whatever it may be in the middle, personnel or bug out location, start filling in those gaps. And so you can bring that anxiety back down to going, okay, whatever it may be will be. Que sera. And I am prepared. And so the next time something else happens, you'll go, okay, we had that contingency and we are prepared. We have a plan. Go over the plan with your family, with your team. And as preppers, we don't have to live in this state of fear, because that's the reason we prep. We prep in order not to fear, because we are aware of what is going on in the world, and so we prepare.
So keep your head on a swivel.
Mm-hmm.
Stay aware, prepared, and educated. And keep doing what you're doing. Find your short areas and shore them up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't panic.
And don't fall into people who are fear-mongering. They say call it out, because all it is now if you are helping other people become more aware of what they could be doing, that's different. It may be a great talking point and to be able to talk to people about preparedness. Just like many natural disasters has gotten us to, Katrina was probably the big one that got us to be able to talk to people about preparedness, just because it was a national event that everybody could see what was going on. Use this maybe as an opportunity to go, okay, so you're worried. What are you worried about? How would you prepare if you had time to? And it may be an opportunity to talk to people about preparedness instead of building into the fear-mongering.
So there you go.
There we go. So the lessons for today is aware, prepared, and educated. So thank you, Sensei, for giving us that advice many years ago. But we're gonna wrap it up here, and I hope you guys are letting us know in the comments if you're witnessing anything that's kind of fear mongering. But maybe if something were to happen, what would you see as your shortfall or your strengths? Either one. Let us know in the comments. We'll get a discussion going.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.